Good evening to you all. I'm going to speak about the poem Kite. The poem Kite by Daya Disanayake highlights the social as well as environmental issues in this poem. The poem unfolds the effect of urbanization and inequality in the society. The title Kite gives the joyous and pleasant, uh, but indirectly it carries the subject of poverty and unhealthy environment. The and also the poet gives various environmental issues in this poem, such as poverty, environmental pollution, money-oriented society, inequality in the society, absence of the nature's beauty due to the industrial revolution, and destruction of the nature. Further, the writer indicates the environmental pollution in this poem. The phrases, the rotting garbage and black acrid smoke emphasizes the water pollution and air pollution in this poem. Through the visual and olfactory imagery, and also the poet indicates the poverty in this poem. The lines, the little boy in ragged shorts indicates the poverty level of the little boy's family. Also, the dictions, the polythene bag and a piece of tape emphasizes the poor economic condition in the to the little boy's family. In conclusion, Daya Disanayaka's poem has been a symbol of poverty and unhealthiness environment in this poem. Thank you.
A very good day to you all. Today I'm going to talk about the poem Kite, which was written by the Sri Lankan author Daya Disanayake. In his poem, he highlights various social issues as well as environmental problems faced during the industrialization. And also he highlights how the city environment is not suitable for living a healthy environment. In the very first line of the poem Kite, he uses a visual imagery technique which shows the natural beauty of the countryside environment. The diction blue sky, which shows us the healthy environment and unpolluted countryside environment. This also indicates there is no barriers for any natural creatures. Like that, there is no barriers for the people who are living in the countryside. The diction green trees, which also indicates the freshness and the prosperity of the environment. The diction green waves shows the visual imagery where the paddy fields, where the writer shows the movements of the paddy fields in his poem. The dictions heavy with fruits, which emphasizes the prosperity and the fertility of the countryside environment. The diction golden, which brings us the here where the writer brings us the Sri Lankan culture, where the peoples give more importance to the gold, and also in the other hand it emphasizes the the prosperity of the soil. The dictions starred up. Here the writer uses the technique personification, where the paddy fields and the green trees on the surface level of the earth, looking above the sky, above the sky. Moreover, not only this beauty of the environment, he also highlights some environmental pollutions due to the industrialization in the city side. The diction such as rotten garbage, block drained, and black asterisks indicates how the environment get polluted due to the industrialization. The lines sweeping from the factories, which also shows how the factories are unsystematically releasing their chemical wastages in the water bodies. The diction rotten garbage automatically creates the smell of the garbage in readers' minds, where the writer uses olfactory imagery. In this poem, he also highlights the poverty level of the people. Even though the city peoples are considered as a money-oriented society people, there are also people who are living under the poverty level. This is highlighted by the diction ragged shorts, where the young boy is portrayed as a poor person. And also his poverty level is encouraged. Poverty level has encouraged him to make a kite by using waste products with addiction such as polythene bags, discarded video cassette. He unconsciously uses 3R system in making kite. So in conclusion, the writer Daya Disanayaka in his poem Kite highlights various social as well as environmental issues in the industrialization period of Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about the poem Kite by Daya Disanayake. Daya Disanayake unfolds a number of social as well as environmental issues using the effective symbols in the poem. The writer shows the effect of the nature due to the industrialization. Further, the title Kite itself stands for the joyness, but in depth it shows the social and environmental issues. First, the writer has employed the theme of poverty using the Dixon's used polythene bag and ragged source. The employment of the Dixons emphasizes the poverty level of the people in country. The boy who flies the kite in the country, he reuses the material polythene bag to make the kite. It shows the poor economical condition of the people, and it is sad that his parents earns less income for their daily needs. Further, the description of the boy shows the poor economical condition as well. Further, the writer compares the village to the country using various dictions. First, we will see the description of the village. The writer has described the natural environment of the village using the phrase blue sky, green trees with heavy fruits. The diction blue sky denotes the healthy environment and how the air is clear. So it shows the unpolluted sky in the village side. Further, the adjective green shows the freshness of the of the environment, and as well as the diction heavy shows the richness of the soil and the uh, richness of the soil. Further, the writer has disclosed the air pollution and water pollution through the Dixon block drains and rotting garbage. So it shows that how the wastages are mixed in the water to make the environment unhygienic in the poem. And also it creates the olfactory imagery to the reader's mind. In closing, the writer is successful to compare the village life to the country for a man to live. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk about the poem Kite. Was written by Daya Dissanayaka, presents various social and environmental issues. It prevail our current society also. Through this poem, the writer showcase how much the city site are polluted, and it become a potential place with issues which are unfavorable for man to live in industrialized society. Through this poem, the writer speaks about the theme poverty. We can understand the diction in this theme. The diction record shows the little boy wears the patched jeans. It means his parents did not have enough money to buy a new cloth for their children. It emphasizes their poor condition, and also the writer showcased the another poor condition. The boy made a kite by himself with the help of used polythene bag, discarded video cassette tapes. Through this activity, we can understand they don't have enough money to buy a new kite also. Furthermore, the writer correlates with another theme of environmental pollution. The phrase black arctrite smoke. In this praise gives a negative feelings and towards and it creates the unpleasant smells in reader's mind. In addition, in this poem, the writer has used various techniques to showcase the social and environmental issues in industrialized society. First, the writer used olfactory imagery, rotting garbage. In this diction, we can understand how the smell of the wastage. It gives unpleasant smells, and we can understand how much it's the garbage smell. And the writer used vivid imagery to showcase the setting of the rural and urban area site. Through this imagery, we can understand how much the city site are polluted, and how much the countryside is very, how much is good for man to live. The writer brings juxtaposition. It gives a realistic photograph with the pupil lives, and also the writer has used adjective heavy fruits. It emphasizes the how much the countryside people are richest one, and also the diction golden reveals the Hindus Buddhist culture and their materialistic wealth also. In this differentiation, the writers showcase the inequality between the urban area and the countryside people. The poem Kite Daya Disanayaka, we can understand that the writer is the unfavorable person for industrialized society. In this poem, he talk about the various social and environmental issues in industrialized society. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. I'm going to talk about community directors poem. The poem suggests on roots, monuments, and musical written by the Sri Lankan mother Kamalaji. It reveals the shocking impacts of the long-lasting war in the country. Through these poems, the writer portrays the innocent victims, and their suffering as they were part of the conflicts. Furthermore, the poem urges life needs explore to affect normal life after the war through a woman's feelings about when the soldiers the short story Golden Oriole was written by the Sri Lankan writer Sri Karnaratne, portrays the typical Sri Lankan Buddhist woman who anxiously waits to have a partner in her life. The short story demonstrates the dependency of a woman on male to found a part in the society. The short story explored how the girl faced all these problems, and how she faced all these problems are explored through the story. Main themes of the story, symbolic value, and plate of loveless life of an unmarried woman. Settings of the story opens in a school where the main female character, Miss Vidarana, teaches. The story opens in a school where the sincere teacher teaches with fresh mentality. Here, at the beginning of the story, the writer emphasizes some behavioral changes on her. Normally, in the life of a woman, a man's presence make lots of changes in her behavior. But at this stage, the writer Sri Karnaratne did not mention the reason for her changes, but the female character Vidarana differ from her usual activities. Normally in a society, man is a central part to a woman. They think that man is an essential need to a woman. Then only there is a sense of complete when they be together, man and woman. The story demonstrates how the priority of the woman neglected. The story demonstrates how the woman's priority neglected at every stages of her life. The teacher, Miss Vidarane, is an adult, but even though the society and her family did not give permission and did not care about her feelings and her inner feelings and her needs and wants. because of at the during time due to the time of her marriage proposal, they did not think about but she wanted, but she needed. They mainly think about the person matched with the family, or the Miss Vitarana's mom like him or not. They did not care about but she needed. That is emphasized through the story. Here in the story, women portrays as a voiceless victims. That is explored this in this situation. At the time of her marriage proposal, even though she loved that man, and she expect he think many he expect many desires from him, but because of the family and because of the elders' persuasion, she cannot openly express her feelings and wants, even though she's an adult. But at the situation, she can't express her feelings to the family and to the society. The elders' persuasion still happening, but in earlier our society, that is affect too much in a woman's life. That's why here a woman portrays as a voiceless victim. And here the writer mentioned the bird myna that emphasize symbolic value. They are parallel with the life of an unmarried woman. At the end of the story, end with sadness and disappointment because of the man neglect her. The man who give love and who give promises and who give faith and all to her, at the end of the story, he neglect her. He did not think about her inner feelings, and he did not think about her needs and wants. He simply neglected. So, end of the story, the writer Swimali Karnaratne portrays disappointments and sadness of a loveless unmarried woman. Thank you.
Good day to you all. Now I am going to talk about the poem Kite. The Kite was written by the Sri Lankan author Daya Disanayaka. He presents various social and environmental issues, and also the writer portrays how a city become an unfavorable place for live in during the industrialization period. Moreover, the writer uses more dictions and lines for explaining this poem. First line of this poem emphasizes the natural beauty of the countryside through the usage of visual imagery. And also the diction blue sky portrays healthy environment, and the natural elements do not have any barriers of the people in the village in different society. This highlights the equality of the people living in the countryside. The diction green trees portrays freshness and prosperity of the village environment, which is more suitable for living, live a healthy life. And the diction green waves portrays through visual imagery for explaining the movement of paddy fields. Furthermore, the poet used the diction heavy with fruits to explain the fertility and richness of the village, and the diction golden emphasizes the prosperity of the land and the includes Sri Lankan culture. And also the writer reveals the diction stared up how paddy fields and green trees are looking above the blue sky. Through this, the writer shows scenic beauty of the environment through explaining the personification technique. Moreover, the writer showcases absence of the natural beauty due to the increases of the industrialization of the city, and also black drain, black acrid, rotten garbages are highlighting how the city environment got polluted, and also rotten garbage portrays as a olfactory imagery. And the writer used the line spewing out of factories showcases how unsystematically factories release chemical wastages, even though the writer portrayed a country as a money-oriented society. Under the money-oriented society, and also he explained the poverty level of the countryside. That's why the diction showcases rugged shores, and also his poverty level encourage him to make kite with the use of waste materials. This is evidently through the diction polythene bag, discarded video cassette, unconsciously uses the 3R system. In conclusion, the Sri Lankan author Daya Disanayaka portrays the various social and environmental issues in this poem. Thank you.
Good day to everyone. Now I'm going to talk about the poem The Fisherman Mourned by His Wife. The poem Fisherman Mourned by His Wife was written by the Sri Lankan poet Patrick Fernando, and this poem illustrates the problem of fishing community faced in Sri Lanka. This poem tells a story of the marriage life between the fisherman and his wife. Through this poem, the writer describes the sudden death of a fisherman and the mentality of his widowed wife. And also, this poem reveals how at first it was loveless marriage life between fisherman and his wife. We can see the evidence through this line. It was not love that married us, nor affection. Through this line, the writer brings out typical attitude of the marriage in the community. They will get married because of the elders' persuasion. But at the beginning stage, there were no love and affection between them. However, it soon turned passionate. The wife becomes pregnant after long monsoon. Keeps fisherman home for 3 months. Moreover, the speaker continues continuous as telling a story of their lives together by highlighting reaction to brings out uh, to finding out their new baby. And then the poem reaches the beginning of the end. The speaker goes back to describing the impact the loss of her husband has had on her and her children. The youngest child believes he's just sleeping. Others weep for him. Here, the diction, youngest, the writer has used superlative adjective to describe immature level of the children. Further, the writer indirectly conveys the message: the widowed wife accepts and understands the reality, which is separation of the part of the life. However, her children are not mature enough to understand the life philosophy. In conclusion, the poem Fisherman Mourned by His Wife creates the strong feeling of sympathy towards a widowed wife and her children because of the fate of the fishing community in the island. Thank you.
Day to all, I'm going to talk about the poem A Soldier's Wife Weep. The poem A Soldier's Wife Weep, written by the Sri Lankan author Kamala Vijayaratne. In this poem, explores suffering of civil war in Sri Lanka. Through this poem, the writer portrays the innocent victims and their sufferings. It reveals pathetic and victimization. Further, the soldier's wife weeps through a woman's feelings about when her soldier husband was dead in battlefield. This poem reveals clearly sad and pathetic feelings of a woman after the burial of her dead husband. Moreover, the diction weep reveals that tragedy woman faced many problems in her life. It's evident of auditory imagery. It emphasizes the exact image of a Sri Lankan soldier's wife widowed at a young age. Moreover, the diction barren years and desert support to create the auditory imagery. Auditory imagery in the poem, and the diction band played and drone of voices support to the diction band played and tone of voices suggest to auditory imagery. And in the first stanza, the writer pictures the sincere love and the worries. Moreover, the diction borrow adds a Sri Lankan flavor for the narration and the main theme of the poem. In conclusion, through this poem, the writer emphasizes uncertainty of human life. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. I'm Shifa. Today, I'm going to talk about the poem Kite. The poem Kite by the Sri Lankan poet Daya Disanayakan present various social and environmental issues that prevails in our society. Through this poem, the writer indicates how the city has become a potential place which full of issues. which is unfavorable for a human to live in post-industrial scenario. Daya Disanayaka unfolds the number of social and environmental issues in the society. And in the society that he indicate he explore the theme through this poem. He explore the theme of poverty in the post-industrial scenario. The writer says they used polythene bags and tied to a piece of tapes. Through these lines, the writer explore the poverty level of the people in post-industrial scenario. In order to make the kite, the little boy reuse the materials which is needed to make the kite. The diction, polythene bags, and the piece of tapes indicate the poverty level of the boy who doesn't have enough money to buy a new material to make the kite. And it seems sadness. It reflects the sadness how the parents have less income to roll their life. And in addition to that, the diction rugged shorts explore the poverty level of the boy who wants to play the kite. Moreover, the writer brings out the theme environmental issues, brings out several environmental issues in post-industrial scenery. The black electric smoke. Through the line, the writer symbolically the writer refers the air pollution in post-industrial scenery. Air pollution. The diction black indicates the unhealthy air, and the adjective fresh, electric smoke give the visual imaginary to the reader's mind how the air is badly polluted by the factories. Not only the air pollution, but also he portrayed the water pollution also. The following lines: the rotting garbage and the block drains. Through the lines, the writer clearly show how the wastage is mixed into the water, how it makes the unhealthy environment also. Further, the writer portrays the inequality. Inequality in the society through this point. Indirectly, the writer compares the city life, city side, and the natural environmental side, countryside. The following line, the top of the green trees, heavy with fruits. Through the lines, the readers can clearly understand how the richness of the how's the richness of the soil, how it is fertilized in the village. And the diction green trees. The diction green trees gives the visual imaginary to the readers, how it is, how the scenery is. And the diction heavy. The diction heavy gives the diction heavy. To the diction heavy, the readers can understand how the trees have the fruits, many fruits. Not only that, through the poem, the writer explored the money-oriented society, who depends on the factories in the post-industrial scenery, and they didn't care about the other people's health and nature. They only needed to the money-oriented society. In conclusion, the poem, the Daya Disanayaka's poem Kite, has been a symbol of increased industries and pollutions compared to the village life, village people. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. I am going to speak about the poem A Soldier's Wife Weep. The poem Soldier's Wife Weep by Sri Lankan poet Kamala Vijayaratne describes woman's feelings when her soldier's husband was dead in war. The poem has been written in first-person point of view. The main theme is war and its consequences, and other theme is dependency and uncertainty of a war. The poem describes supernatural beliefs of people. The poem reveals how a woman is helpless in predicting of her husband's death. The poem discloses how a wife departed soldiers become a victim. The writer shows how she was compelled to play a new role as a widow in the society. The writer used many techniques such as flashback, auditory imagery, and visual imagery. The line "roan of voices like of a plan," it is an auditory imagery. Moreover, in the poem Soldier's Wife Weep by Kamala Vijayaratne criticizes a war which destroys the life of soldiers and their loved ones. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. I'm going to talk about the poem as Soldier's Wife Weep. The poem A Soldier's Wife Weep by the Sri Lankan author Kamala Vijayaratne highlights the miserable state of a wife after the death of her husband. It reveals the shocking impacts of long-lasting war in the country. Furthermore, a poem, Soldier's Wife Weep, explored to affect normal life after the war through a woman's feelings when her soldier's husband was dead in the battlefield. This poem reveals clearly sad and pathetic feelings of a woman after the burial of the dead husband. The diction, but on this day now I seem to see things I never saw before. These lines, she recalls her times they were enjoyed together, her behavior so loving and full of care. The woman's feelings suddenly changed to her dead husband's news. In this poem, the diction reveals the tragedy women soldiers many problem in her life. It's an evidence of auditory imagery. On the other hand, the auditory imagery highlights facts of the poem in exact image of Sri Lankan soldier's wife, widow at young age. Moreover, in this poem, as Soldier's Wife Week by Kamala Vijayaratne criticized a war which destroyed the lives of soldiers and their loved ones. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. I'm going to talk about the poem Monuments. The poem Monuments by Kamala Vijayaratne highlights a miserable state of the parents suffering after the death of their loved sons in the war. This poem reveals the psychological depression of the parents due to the loss of their young children. The psychological depression of the parents can be compared with the condition of the people in the street in the poem Morning at the Window by T.S. Eliot. The writer brings out the theme poverty in the poem. According to the speaker, the departed soldiers in the poem are from a poor farmer family. As the farmers have lost their young children, they have to work hard with unbearable pains in their heart to earn their living. The writer indicates how the parents are helpless in the society as they lost their young children. If they had lived, they would have helped their parents in their farming activities. But unfortunately, the sons died in the war, so that no one is there for the parents to help in their works. Moreover, the customs followed by the Sinhalese on their New Year festival have been brought into light. This brings sufferings and worries for the parents as their young sons are no more to celebrate the New Year festival together with their family members. Another pathetic conduction in the poem is funeral rituals performed by the parents for their children, which is opposite to normal circumstances. Usually, sons perform these rituals for their parents once they die due to aging. That is a natural phenomenon in all the societies. But what happens here is unnatural and unexpected for the parents. In conclusion, in the poem, Kamala Vijayaratne criticizes war, which destroys the lives of the soldiers and the life of their loved ones. That's all. Thank you.